Hello, Dodgers Nation. Imagine the scene. It's a warm September night in Los Angeles. The city lights blend with the intense glow coming from Dodger Stadium, a temple of baseball where dreams and heartbreak collide every single season. The home team, carrying all its historical weight, shoulders the pressure delivering yet another run toward the World Series. But this time, the situation feels different. It's not the powerful offense, nor the consistent starting rotation that is under debate. The problem, and at the same time, the hope, lies in one specific sector, the bullpen. And within that scenario, a name emerges, one that may not be a superstar, but could change everything. We're talking about Brock Stewart, the reliever who is about to begin his rehab assignment. When Dodgers manager Dave Roberts confirmed this week that Stewart will begin his comeback process, it wasn't just a routine medical update. It was practically a sigh of relief for both the fans and the coaching staff, who know exactly how much the bullpen has struggled in recent weeks. Since suffering shoulder inflammation back in August, Stewart has never stopped repeating the same message. He would return before the end of the season. And now, with his rehab set to begin, that possibility feels more real than ever. In his own words, "If I can win in a few weeks and come back to help the team toward the playoffs, that would be great. That's the plan for sure." A statement that echoes not just his hope, but almost as a promise to a fan base desperate for stability. To understand the weight of this potential return, we need to go back a bit in time. Stewart didn't land in Los Angeles by chance. He was acquired from the Minnesota Twins at the trade deadline in exchange for outfielder James Outman in one of the Dodgers' most significant moves that window. Expectations were high. After all, Stewart was coming off a strong season with the Twins, posting a 2.38 ERA across 39 appearances. He was the perfect figure to add depth to a bullpen that was already showing signs of instability. But reality was harsh. In just 4 games wearing Dodger blue, despite still playing at a high 4.91 ERA, represents a short-term far from what was envisioned. Soon after, on August 12th, came the news. Right shoulder inflammation, 15-day injured list. And that was the moment when the Dodgers truly felt the impact. Because while the starting rotation was doing its part, the bullpen repeatedly failed to hold leads. 3 walk-off losses just this month already tell a story of frustration. Against the Orioles, for example, the picture was brutal. A lead that seemed secure, completely destroyed in the final moments. And in October, we all know that kind of detail can be fatal. It's no surprise that Roberts and the entire staff view Stewart's return not just as a reinforcement, but as a nearly mandatory strategic adjustment. But before projecting the future, it's worth looking at Stewart's journey. He is not a new face in Los Angeles. Between 2016 and 2019, he already wore Dodger blue, but never managed to cement himself as an indispensable piece. After that, his career took unexpected turns. He passed through the Blue Jays, played in independent leagues, endured Tommy John surgery, one of the biggest nightmares for any pitcher, and had to restart his career almost from scratch. He was re-signed by the Dodgers on a minor league deal, but later explored free agency and found his redemption with the Twins. There, he finally showed consistency, confidence, and above all, resilience. That 2.38 ERA in nearly 40 games was no fluke. It was a product of mechanical adjustments, maturity on the mound, and a second chance well taken. When talking about Stewart in technical terms, it's important to note that he is not an overpowering pitcher, not one of those who impress with triple-digit fastballs. His fastball sits around 94 to 96 miles per hour, nothing extraordinary by today's MLB standards. But the difference lies in his slider, with excellent lateral movement, combined with changeup that deceives both righties and lefties. In Minnesota, hitters manage just a .179 average against him, a number that speaks for itself. It proves that Stewart can be the kind of pitcher who, even without a jaw-dropping arsenal, manages to dominate through intelligence, precision, and strategic pitch usage. However, in Los Angeles, the sample size so far has been far too small for any definitive judgment. For games, a high ERA and then an injury is an unfair snapshot for a player who is on the rise. That's why the big question is, which Stewart will we see upon his return? The Twins version, consistent and reliable, or the one who barely had time to settle with the Dodgers before landing on the IL? That doubt lingers over the fan base, but at the same time feeds a certain optimism. After all, if he comes back anywhere close to his Minnesota form, the bullpen immediately gains a whole new dimension. Comparing Stewart to other names around the league, we can think of players like Andrew Miller, who shined in Cleveland in 2016, Miller wasn't a closer, but he was a trusted man in the highest pressure moments, entering any inning to put out fires. Stewart, within reason, could play a similar role, or even like David Robertson in more recent years. Not necessarily the fastest or most dominant, but reliable, composed, and capable of execution when the team needs it most. That type of role is vital in October, when one mistake can cost the entire season. Within the Dodgers' tactical projection, Stewart could primarily work as a setup man in the 7th or 8th inning. That would allow the team to reorganize roles in the bullpen, relieving pressure from other pitchers who haven't delivered. In critical situations, he could even face the heart of the opponent's order, something his time in Minnesota showed he could handle. It's a depth adjustment, but also a psychological one. Having a trusted figure changes the mindset of the team, the coaching staff, and even the fans, who breathe easier with every out recorded. Of course, there are risks. Stewart will have little time to prepare. His rehab needs to be quick, but it can't be rushed to the point of jeopardizing his arm's health. There's always a chance he comes back without rhythm, without confidence, or that the injury still limits his effectiveness. But even with all those uncertainties, the mere fact of his return being on the horizon already creates a positive ripple. It's as if the Dodgers had an extra card up their sleeve for October. And here lies the central point. The Dodgers still lead the NL West, but their inconsistency throughout the season has already cost them the chance to compete evenly for one of the league's best records. That means in the playoffs, they'll face heavy opponents right from the start. In that context, every detail is crucial. The offense may explode, the rotation may deliver solid outings, but if the bullpen doesn't keep pace, the season could end in frustration once again. Stewart, in that scenario, ceases to be just another player returning from injury and becomes a potential turning point. In the end, his personal story also ties into this narrative. Stewart knows what it's like to fall. He knows what it's like to restart. He knows what it's like to be doubted. And precisely because of that, he carries a different motivation. It's not just another season. It's the chance to cement a career that once hung by a thread. And there's no better stage than Los Angeles in the chase for October to prove it all. When the cameras show Stewart warming up in the bullpen again, the fans will surely feel a mix of anxiety and hope. Because if he really does manage to recover in time, the Dodgers gain not just a pitcher, but a story of resilience, of comeback, and maybe even a redemption. October is built on stories like these. And maybe, just maybe, the name Brock Stewart is about to be written in bigger letters in Los Angeles' memory. Now, the question that remains is simple and inevitable. Do you believe Stewart has enough time to turn the game around? Will he be the missing piece to transform the Dodgers bullpen into a fortress down the stretch? Or will he be another one of those promises that, unfortunately, falls short? In just a few weeks, we'll have the answer. But one thing is certain, the Dodgers season might depend precisely on this return.